a young boy named Jiashu finds himself in the midst of some villagers who are dancing around him. As he wonders what's happening, the village leader suddenly calls on their snake god to appear before them. Out of nowhere, a giant snake crawls down from the mountain and moves toward Jiashu. As the snake is about to attack him, Jiashu wakes up from the nightmare while on a raft with his uncle, who is fishing in the river. After waking up, Jiashu sounds scared and asks why the whole area is starting to get foggy.
We'll go home soon.
His uncle tells him not to worry, but as Jiashu sees that they're close to a strange island, he asks if it's the famous Python Island they've always heard about. However, his uncle tells him that the stories about the place are only rumors. Jiashu still looks scared, and as he looks around, he's unaware that a snake has just passed near them.
Tell us.
I don't know.
Jiashu eventually spots something inside the water while his uncle tries to drag out his nets to see if he has caught any fish. As Jiashu alerts his uncle, it turns out to be too late, and the man is dragged into the water. After struggling to find his way back to the raft, Jiashu's uncle says they have to leave. As he prepares to start paddling away, Jiashu notices that they're now closer to Python Island. When he mentions this to his uncle, the man looks scared and immediately tries to paddle away faster. When he looks back, though, he sees that Jiashu is no longer on the raft. This leaves him shocked, and he immediately jumps out of the raft to find Jiashu.
Jiashu!
Unfortunately, Jiashu's uncle is unable to go far because there's a snake now staring at him from the island. As the snake scares him, the man quickly leaves with his raft and goes to inform Jiashu's parents that their son is missing. Even though Jiashu's mother looks scared because she has had several stories about the island, his dad and uncle suggest going back to save the boy. Elsewhere, Jiashu gently walks into the island and looks curious about the possibility of what he could find there. While walking, he falls and suddenly senses that something is following him. As he turns back, though, he doesn't find anything, and this makes him feel relieved. However, before he can keep moving, he falls into a trap and finds himself inside a cage. Meanwhile, Jiashu's parents and uncle are stopped by an old village leader before they can head to the island. The man warns them against going there because of the stories he has heard of how people get killed there. He adds that, based on old stories, if anyone disturbs the island, the entire village usually suffers for it. Jiashu's dad says he can't just leave his son on the island,
It was my son that was lost.
and a man named Zhao supports him even though he has an ulterior motive of stealing some of the precious plants on the island so he can sell them. As the old villager insists that it's a bad idea to go to the island, Zhao says it's sad to see that people still believe in weird superstitions. Before the old man can say anything else, Zhao quickly leads Jiashu's family out of the village so they can head to the island. When they get there, Zhao secretly tells his two boys to start looking out for anything of value that they can find. While Jiashu's parents are busy looking around for their son, one of Zhao's boys finds some snake eggs and takes a few to show his boss. Zhao doesn't seem interested in this because snake eggs aren't worth a fortune, and as he tells his boys to keep looking around, he sees an attractive flower. Since this looks like something of value, Zhao sends one of his boys to cut off the flower and bring it to him. After he breaks the eggs, the boy tries cutting the flower, but it appears to be pretty hard. As he starts wondering what to do next, the giant snake sees him and immediately kills him. Jiashu's parents hear his screams from the other side of the island,
What was that?
but Zhao tells them not to worry about it because it's likely nothing. After moving around for a while, Jiashu's mother sees one of her son's shoes on the ground. As she shows her husband, he suddenly sees the snake coming for them, so he quickly protects his wife. However, the snake doesn't back down, and as it chases them, they all eventually land inside a dark cave. Zhao and the others look scared because they don't know where they are, but after walking around for a while, Jiashu's uncle recognizes some of the things inside. He then mentions that it seems they're in the temple of the snake god. This scares Jiashu's parents because, according to the old stories, the snake god always kills people who intrude on his temple. However, Zhao says the stories are fake and that they should keep looking around. Just then, Jiashu wakes up inside his cage, which is also in the cave. As he hears the voices of his parents, Jiashu quickly calls them to save him. His parents are initially shocked to hear him, but as they trace his voice, they're finally able to save their son. Meanwhile, Zhao takes his other boy to check a tree inside the temple that has skeletons on it. As they look intrigued, Zhao says he's sure it will cost a fortune. Before he and his boy can touch the tree though, snakes start coming out of the holes in the skeletons. Zhao immediately runs away, but it turns out that the snakes have now surrounded the temple. As they all wonder what to do next, Zhao sees a hole at the top of the cave, so he tells the others that they need to escape. Following this, they start climbing up to get to safety. Unfortunately, Zhao falls in the process, but before the snakes get to him, he pulls down his boy so that he'll be able to climb back up again. This leaves Zhao's boy stranded, and even though Jiashu's parents can still save him, they only drag up their son after he secretly picks up a snake egg. With this, the snakes kill Zhao's boy while the others escape.
Go!
When they get out, Jiashu's dad blames Zhao for annoying the snakes, but he says he had nothing to do with it. He then says that Jiashu's parents should actually be blamed for leaving his other boy to die. Before Jiashu's parents say anything, Zhao adds that he'll report them to the villagers if they don't give him their land. Jiashu's uncle immediately tells his brother not to give in to Zhao's demands, and his wife also says that someone as evil as Zhao will ruin their land. As Jiashu's dad argues with Zhao, his wife suddenly passes out.
Mom!
Lind!
Zhao believes she's only being dramatic, but he also passes out, and Jiashu's dad realizes that they were bitten by the snakes earlier. Following this, Jiashu's dad and uncle quickly return to the village to get help. When they get there, Zhao still seems strong enough to lament about how he's not being treated well, but Jiashu's mom looks very weak. After a while, one of the villagers runs to meet them to announce that there are snakes on the shore already killing people in the village. The old village leader then looks sad and says he can't believe they failed to listen to his warning. As he blames them for the snake invasion, Jiashu's dad leads some of the villagers out of the clinic.
Get the weapon! Go! Right away! Come on!
So they can defend their village from the snakes. After everyone heads out, Jiashu is left alone in the room with his mom. She then gives Jiashu a necklace and tells him to always be kind. As she struggles to continue speaking, she suddenly dies, and Jiashu is left devastated by this. Months later, Jiashu notices that the snake egg he took from Python Island has hatched. As a baby python emerges from the shell, Jiashu looks scared, but the snake eventually turns out to be harmless. Jiashu then takes it as his pet. He also says sorry to the snake for disturbing the island and leaving with the egg. Days later, Jiashu's dad sees him talking to the python. The man looks scared and immediately tells Jiashu to hand over the snake so that it can be killed. However, Jiashu runs away and takes the snake to the shore so that it can leave for the island. Jiashu's dad immediately rounds up some of the other villagers to follow him, but before they get to the shore, Jiashu manages to convince the snake to leave before it gets killed. Years later, Jiashu is now an adult who works as a lab scientist in the city. While he's at work, he gets a call from his uncle, who tells him that the villagers have been suffering for a long time. He adds that people who kill snakes or eat the killed snakes have been falling sick. Jiashu is shocked to hear this, but he tells his uncle that whenever he's less busy,
I gotta go.
he'll try to visit the village to see what he can do to help. The next day, Jiashu attends a meeting with his boss at the company where he works. During the meeting, it is announced by his boss's assistant that they found a golden grass that can help their research on cell regeneration. As the man mentions that the plant is on Python Island, Jiashu looks shocked because he knows it's a dangerous place. Despite this, he's still assigned as one of the scientists who will lead a team to the island. His boss also mentions that her daughter Lily will be joining him as an assistant on the trip.
Let's do it.
Days later, Jiashu arrives at his village for the first time in a while. He also sees his uncle and realizes that people in the village are really suffering from a plague caused by their habit of killing and eating snakes. Jiashu's dad then sees him and welcomes him back to the village, but he doesn't respond because he has still not forgiven his dad for nearly killing his pet many years ago. He also seems pissed that his dad never tried to stop the villagers from killing more snakes over the years. The following day, Jiashu's boss arrives in the village with her assistant to convince the villagers to let them go to the island. Most of them don't agree with this, but Zhao, who appears to be their new leader, says he doesn't have a problem with it. He also says he has gone to the island once and survived, and that he's sure there's really no problem with going there.
It's my decision to make.
Jiashu also tries to convince the villagers by saying that he thinks the plague is connected to the snakes on the island. He adds that if he gets there, he'll be able to do some research to determine what is needed for a cure. Following this, Zhao announces that he'll be joining the team on their trip to the island, and Jiashu's dad also says he's coming along. This leaves his son shocked, but he doesn't say anything. Later that night, Lily sees Jiashu staying outside alone, so she asks if there's something wrong with him. Jiashu then mentions that he can't stop blaming himself for the plague, because if he had never ventured into the island, his mom wouldn't have died, and no one would have gotten sick too. The next day, Zhao leads Jiashu's bosses to the shore, where they'll board boats to the island. When they get there, Jiashu notices that some of the team members are with weapons, so he asks about it. Lily's mom then mentions that it's just a precautionary measure. Jiashu doesn't trust this, but he doesn't say anything. After a while, they all reach the island, and the boss's assistant looks intrigued by the flowers present there. He also says there could be more special plants on the island, because he once heard that the last tribe to live there were known to use specific flowers to grant themselves immortality. As they all eventually split up to start looking for the particular grass they want, one of Zhao's men sees a flower that catches his eye. After asking his boss if he can pick it up, Zhao gives him permission to do so. However, before he can cut the flower, it attacks him and eats his head. As he screams, everyone gets scared and sees that there are other flowers also aiming to attack them. To ensure everyone's safety, Jiashu quickly tells them to run to a nearby cave to hide. As they're entering the cave, Lily's mom spots the golden grass she wants. She looks excited by this and tells her assistant that they've gotten what they came for. As she tries to uproot it, though, she hears the cave starting to crack, so she leaves it. Following this, her assistant mentions that it seems the grass is connected to the island's ecosystem in some kind of weird way. He adds that from his research, it also means there's a grass king on the island. Lily's mom then says that they need to find the Grass King and extract his genes so they can use it to determine the secret to immortality. Jiashu is shocked to hear this, but before he says anything, they're all attacked by the flowers again. While running, Lily and Jiashu end up splitting up from the others, who are now inside the snake temple. There, Lily's mom realizes that her daughter is missing, but before she gets everyone to start looking for her, a giant snake appears in the temple and attacks them. Luckily, they all escape unhurt and leave the snake trapped. Elsewhere, Jiashu sees a golden python about to attack Lily, but instead of eventually doing that, the snake kisses his forehead. Jiashu is shocked by this, but he realizes that the python is the pet he had to let go of. He then tells Lily not to be scared, but as the snake hears people running around, it escapes and leaves the room. While Jiashu and Lily are walking around, they see some murals on the wall, which also include the language of the tribe that once lived on the island. Since they've both done a lot of research in the past about the tribe, Jiashu translates some parts of the texts as a message from the old tribe, narrating how they became immortals. It turns out that after a meteor fell on the island, the golden grass started growing around it. After the people from the tribe then realized that the plants made them immortal, they started eating them until their bodies turned into half snake, half grass. Elsewhere, Lily's mom and her assistant see that the Grass King is actually inside the temple. As she tries to touch it, thinking it's a statue, the plant suddenly comes alive and attacks everyone in the room. They all run away again and eventually find Lily and Jiashu. Lily looks happy to see her mom again, and she mentions that she and Jiashu just saw a golden python. Lily's mother then asks her assistant if the python is related to the grass. After he confirms this, she immediately tells Zhao and his men to capture the python alive. Jiashu doesn't like this because they'll kill his pet, but there's nothing he can do. Even though Zhao is also scared, he agrees to find the python as long as he gets paid well. Shortly after, they all find the golden python and the giant snake in one of the empty rooms in the cave. Lily then begs her mom to call off the mission because it's too risky, but this gets her slapped. Her mom also says that even though the grass turned the island's initial settlers into snakes and grasses, she'll have to devise a strategy to find her way around it so that she can be immortal without side effects. Just then, Zhao and his men attack the snakes, but before the golden python gets shot, Jiashu defends it. As it escapes, Jiashu suddenly gets bitten by the giant snake, who doesn't realize that he's not the enemy. Before he gets killed, Jiashu's dad quickly saves him. He then tells Zhao to let them leave so that Jiashu can get proper treatment. However, Zhao says he doesn't care. Before Jiashu's dad thinks of what to do next, the golden python crawls near them to save Jiashu. Even though Lily begs Zhao not to hurt the snake, he still knocks it down because he only cares about the money he'll be paid. Unfortunately, the boss's assistant mentions that the entrance has already been blocked by the giant snake. Zhao then says he can still kill it, so he's given the go-ahead to take his men to the entrance. Despite still being weak, Jiashu runs to stop them from taking the python away. Meanwhile, as Zhao almost kills the giant snake, it attacks him and his men, before it then goes toward Lily. Jiashu saves her. They then escape out of the cave and see the golden grass. Jiashu immediately uproots it and keeps it so that Lily's mother won't find it. Since the giant snake is now trapped, Zhao and his men bring the golden python outside, as Lily's mother then complains about how she can't run for too long because she's getting old. Her assistant tells her that if she consumes the python's bile, she'll look younger forever. Zhao hears this and brings out a knife to stab the python, but Jiashu runs to fight him. Unfortunately, Jiashu loses the fight, but the python bites Zhao. As he's dying and begging for help, Jiashu remembers what his mom told him about being kind, so he decides to help Zhao by giving him part of the golden grass to eat. Quite interestingly, this makes Zhao stronger, and he attacks Jiashu again. Jiashu's dad and uncle also fight with Jiashu, but Zhao beats them up. The python then tries to squeeze Zhao, but he bites it and leaves the snake really weak. After this, Zhao starts experiencing some strange side effects, which make him unstable. Jiashu then realizes that the part of the mural he couldn't translate showed that the people from the ancient tribe actually ended up dying after mixing the golden grass with snake blood. Since this is exactly what Zhao has unintentionally done, Jiashu realizes that he could die too. Before anything happens to him, Zhao mentions that he caused the plague in the village because he wants the villagers to remain loyal to him. As Jiashu looks shocked by this, Zhao attacks him. Jiashu's dad immediately steps in to defend his son again, but Zhao stabs and kills him. Jiashu is devastated by this, but this doesn't stop Zhao from trying to attack the others. All of a sudden, his face starts to react badly to the golden grass, and as he realizes that he was lied to about the effects of the grass, he goes to attack Lily's mom's assistant. The man then confesses that he actually lied because he wanted to extort Lily's mom. Zhao gets angry and kills him. As he then attacks Jiashu again, Lily's mom tries to take her away, but she refuses to go. While Zhao then almost beats up Jiashu, Lily shoots an arrow at them but misses her target. Before she reloads, Zhao finally shoots Jiashu and he falls to the ground. Lily immediately runs to meet him, and after hitting his chest a couple of times, he wakes up. He then realizes that the bullet touched the necklace his mom gave him before she died. As he stands up again with Lily and his uncle, Zhao tries to shoot him again, but before he can, the giant snake eats him while smashing itself into the ground. This causes a tremor that sees some of the trees in the area falling. Luckily, the golden snake helps clear the path for Jiashu and the others to leave. As they get to the shore, Jiashu sees how weak the python is. Since he still has some golden grass left, he decides to feed it, but Lily's mother begs him to give her instead, because she needs it to produce a medicine that will revive her company and help her pay her debts. Lily doesn't like this.
Mom, let Jiashu do what he wants.
And she tells her mom not to be selfish. Jiashu also says he can't give her, so he then feeds the python with the golden grass. After it regains its strength, Jiashu then leaves with the others and returns to the village to help them cure the plague and stop them from ever killing snakes.